the Los Angeles Clippers lost to the Utah Jazz in a 7-game series, ending the career of NBA legend Paul Pierce. I wish I were lying about this, but it's the truth. Well, really, Paul Pierce is the truth. Pierce played 1,343 season games in the NBA over 19 years. More than 1,100 of those were for the Celtics. And that's how he's going to be remembered, wearing his green number 34 jersey. 19 seasons, but only one of them could be his best. Today, we're going to analyze stats, achievements, and defining moments to try to determine. Paul Pierce was drafted by the Celtics as the 10th pick in the 1998 draft. His rookie season wasn't stunning, but few people's are. He averaged 16.5 points and 2.4 assists, which were both his lowest as a Celtics player. He also averaged 6.4 rebounds, which was in line with the future season averages. It was his lowest free throw percentage, but second highest three-point percentage. The team wasn't too good in 1999. The Celtics ended the season with 19 wins. The number is a little deceiving since it was a shortened season with only 50 games, but 19 out of 50 is still well under 50% and a poor record. Needless to say, no playoffs for the Celtics this year. For the summary, I have of course that he joined the Celtics and he had a high three-point percentage. The next year, Pierce went from his second highest three-point percentage to one of his worst, 34.3%. Free throws improved to full 8.5% and points increased to full 3 per game. It was his highest steal average with 2.1 per game, which was second in the NBA. His second year was comparable to his rookie year, no other major changes. The team was still bad and wouldn't go to the playoffs. Summary for this season, he was consistent with some improvement, and it was his best stealing season, 2.1 per game. The 2000-2001 season is when the Paul Pierce that we all know started to emerge. Almost everything was better from his previous season. His average went up almost 6 points from last year, and remember last year was up 3 points from his first year. He also placed third in the NBA in both free throws made and attempted. The Celtics as a team, still bad, no playoffs. In this season, he had tons of free throws, improved scoring, and improved almost everything else. The 2001-2002 season was a big one for Paul. It was his first of 10 All-Star appearances. Here's why. He averaged the most minutes of his career, 40.3. He averaged over 40% from the three, for one of the 3 times in his career. His free throw percentage was over 80% for the first of many times. He averaged 6.9 rebounds, the second most of his career. Assist average was 3.2, the highest he's had to this point. Steals were 1.9, his second most. And points were 26.1, which not just marks the 4th straight year of scoring improvement, but it was his second highest scoring season ever. He scored the most total points in the NBA. His average was 3rd. He made the most threes of any season as well, 210, 3rd most in the NBA. Pierce is 4th on the list of most career threes, and this was the single season that added to the total the most. And the Celtics were not so magically good now. 49 season wins in their first appearance in the playoffs in 7 years. The first series was against the 76ers and went to Game 7. Well, Game 5 actually. Game 5 was the final game of the first round, but Game 5 doesn't sound as important as Game 7. Anyway, the Celtics won Game 5-7 and advanced to play the Pistons, who they also beat. The Celtics were stopped by the Nets in the conference finals. Massive improvement from Pierce and the Celtics this year. I'm going to summarize this season by mentioning his crazy stats, his personal second highest in scoring, a much improved team, his first playoff appearance, and he won 2 rounds of the playoffs. The next year couldn't live up to the last. Pierce was still an All-Star and averaged only 0.2 points less, giving him the 3rd best scoring season of his career. He shot above 80% from the free throw line again, and was number 1 in the NBA in both free throws made and attempted. It was also his highest rebounding average at 7.3. Much like Pierce, his team couldn't compare to last year either. They had fewer season wins and were shut out by the Nets in the second round. The summary for this season includes tons more free throws, his 3rd highest personal scoring average, and his highest rebounding average. Pierce decreased in scoring again, now at 23 per game, but it was his highest assist average, with 5.1 per game. By the way, he had increased his assist average every year of his 6 years to arrive at this number. Free throw percentage was a new high, but 3-point percentage dropped below 30% for the only season of his 19. He also had more turnovers than any other player that year. This was the first season Pierce played without Walker by his side. He had started on the team a little before Pierce and was even a bigger part of the team than Pierce at times, averaging high minutes, high rebounds, and high points. Walker was an all-star during 3 of his Celtics years, one of those before Pierce arrived. With Walker gone, the Celtics had even fewer wins, only 36, but it somehow was enough to qualify for the playoffs where they amazingly got shut out in the first round. I suppose that's not amazing. Really more embarrassing. The summary for this year? Highest assist average. The next year was more solid play from Pierce, but averaging less points for the 4th straight year, now at 21.6. Gary Payton was on the team for this 1 year, but 36 years old and not a big help. Walker also returned for less than half the season, but wasn't too helpful either. What may have been helpful is their coaching change. In the playoffs, they faced the Pacers in the first round in a series that went to 7 games. Yes, actually 7 games this time, not 5. Well, anyway, he lost. But for the series, Pierce led his team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. I can summarize this season in the fact that it was another playoff year, and he had a good playoff series. The next year, Pierce scored more than any other year, 26.8 points per game, but was 6th in the NBA. It was his best scoring season, 2nd best rebounding season, and 3rd best assisting season. And his overall shooting was one of the better seasons as well. The issue is that Pierce didn't have the players he needed around him. The season ended poorly for the Celtics, and for the first time in a while they were not in the playoffs. Pierce was 28 years old, and in the middle of his prime playing years, but the team was moving in the wrong direction. Changes needed to be made. But for this season, it was his highest scoring year, 26.8 points per game. But there were no changes made in the next year. It was worse than ever. Pierce was dealing with foot issues and missed almost half the games of the season. It was the only year from the seasons ending 2002 to 2012 that he was not an all-star. The injury also kept him out of the playoffs. Just kidding. It was his team's 24 season wins that kept him out of the playoffs. Summary for this year? Consistency for the time he played. Now we're at the 2007-2008 season. I think this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Let me take a breath so I can accurately describe everything that happened this year. Okay. First of all, Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen joined the team, forming the famous Celtics Big Three. But even better than them, the team featured... Okay, a Scalabrine joke would be too easy right here. But the team did feature the likes of Kendrick Perkins, Tony Allen, Glenn Davis, and we can't forget about Rondo, though not quite an all-star just yet. Remember last year? An injured Paul Pierce was the best thing the team had? Now they had 3 of the league's best players. Pierce took a hit statistically in some categories, but it's all part of the sacrifice to form a team like this. The Celtics went from 0 All-Stars to 3 All-Stars, 24 wins to 66 wins, not making the playoffs to winning the finals. And it was an exciting road to the finals. The first round was against the Hawks and went to 7 games. The second round was against LeBron and the Cavaliers and went to 7 games. Pierce scored 41 in the 7th game. The third round was against the Pistons and went to 6 games. The finals was the Lakers. It re-sparked the Celtics-Lakers rivalry. The Celtics came out on top in the 1960s, the Lakers were the winners of the 1980s, and now the Celtics reclaimed their place on top, and were the winners of whatever you call that decade. Even with 2 other All-Stars on the team, Pierce separated himself into another category and won the Finals MVP.
It is the truth. The MVP of the 2008 NBA Finals is Paul Pierce.
In total, the Celtics lost 10 playoff games, but emerged on top. The summary for this year, it's just too much to repeat. How do you follow up a season like that? Well, you really can't. Pierce averaged above 20 points for the last time and did well in all other categories. While Pierce only missed 1 game, Garnett missed 25. The team still won 62 games in the season, but without Garnett in the playoffs, they couldn't pass the second round. And the Lakers won the finals this year. I'll summarize this year by mentioning his good scoring and a good regular season. The next year everyone was back, and mostly healthy. Pierce had the lowest scoring season to date with the exception of his rookie season. Rebounds were lower than any season, including his rookie season, but efficiency was way up. It was his highest field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage to this point. All these numbers show the mark of a good team. They only won 50 games in the season but stepped it up in the playoffs. They passed Miami in the first round easily, passed LeBron and the Cavaliers once again, beat the Magic in the third, who were in the finals last year, and faced the Lakers in the finals, who won the finals last year. In the series after 5 games, the Celtics were up 3-2, but the Lakers won Game 6 to force a Game 7. In the final game, Kobe shot 25% from the field, including 0 for 6 behind the 3. But the Lakers were still able to take the game, winning by 4 points. The Celtics fell short of their second championship by 4 points. This year, Pierce had great shooting, a great playoff run, and a final appearance that they took to Game 7. They all returned for the next season, and even added a 38-year-old Shaquille O'Neal to the roster. Pierce continued his great shooting with his career best 49.7% from the field and 86% free throws. Most else was comparable to the previous season. The team made it to the second round where they faced LeBron for the third time. LeBron was now able to beat the Celtics, but he had to go to Miami and form his own Big Three to do it. This year, Pierce had more great shooting. Pierce put up the numbers we would expect from him during this season, and it was his final All-Star appearance. The team actually fell 1 game short of making the finals. Again, they were defeated by LeBron and the Heat. And just as in the finals of 2010, the Celtics were up 3-2 after 5 games, but lost the last 2. This year, Pierce had consistency, and he was almost in the finals. The next year, Pierce remained consistent, with the exception of his free throw shooting, which was the lowest since the formation of the Big Three. Rondo was out for half the season. He was now a much bigger part of the team, and an all-star himself, so it had a large impact on the team. The other thing that had a large impact was Ray Allen's absence. He was now a member of the Heat. The Big Three was over. The team finished the season with a near-even record and lost in the playoffs in the first round. Pierce was consistently consistent. Pierce played 15 years on the Celtics, and this was his 16th year. This year, he played for the Nets. He went there with his teammates Kevin Garnett and Jason Terry. Pierce scored even less than his rookie season and set a new career low. 13.5 points per game. Most else was low as well, probably due to his new low in minutes, 28 per game. There was a lot of championship talk surrounding the team, but I'm just not seeing it. It was an unimpressive season that ended in the second round, to LeBron and the Heat again. The series took only 5 games, but interestingly featured every member of the former Big Three. This year he joined a new team, the Brooklyn Nets. After 1 year, Pierce left the Nets to join the Wizards. His new team featured John Wall and Bradley Beal. Pierce set a new low in scoring for the 4th straight year, now averaging less than 12 per game. The Wizards team was in the end no different than the teams he had been a part of for the past few years. They finished with 46 wins and lost in the second round. This year, Pierce went to a new team, the Washington Wizards. New year, new team. The Clippers this time. Pierce wasn't a starter for most of the games and missed 14 of them completely. His minutes average was down to 18, his shooting was inefficient, and basically every stat was a new career low, including his points, which were down to 6.1 per game. There were 8 other Clippers players that averaged more points than him. But remember, he was 38 years old, so it really isn't as bad as it seems. But what was really bad was the Clippers overall. Despite having talent like Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Jordan, they lost in the first round. Pierce had a new team, the Los Angeles Clippers. It brings us to his final year. He stayed with the Clippers, but I don't need to say that all his numbers were low. He only played 25 games and averaged 11 minutes in those games. Someone who once averaged a consistent 20 plus points per game was now averaging 3.2. I can't say that he was an important member of the team during his time with the Clippers. On April 30th, 2017, the Clippers lost to the Jazz in the 7th game of the series. This was Paul Pierce's final game. This year, Paul Pierce didn't have a new team. 19 seasons for Pierce, 15 on the Celtics and 4 on various other teams. I gave them all proper consideration, but in the end the decision was easy. His best season is... Sure, it wasn't his best statistical season, but this was far outweighed by the positives. I remember this being the season where I really gained some respect for Paul Pierce. The addition of Garnett and Allen pushed the team to a new level that Pierce couldn't achieve alone. No one could achieve it alone. The Celtics improved their record by 42 wins and won the finals. It was a great road to the finals, and once they were there, they were faced by the best possible opponent for the Celtics, the Lakers. The Lakers had Kobe at his best, but the Celtics still came out on top. In a series filled with tremendous players, Pierce stood out as being the most valuable. He won the NBA championship and the Finals MVP, his only season for either. This season is what the first half of his career was leading up to, and what he was trying to recapture in the second half. For these reasons, I believe the 2007-2008 season was Paul Pierce's best. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my decision, as well as any other thoughts you have on the subject. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Thank you for watching. If you like this video and want to see more in a similar style, be sure to subscribe by clicking the logo so you know when I upload a new one.